was coming in to support Nixotica there, effectively unavailable, but I believe today they are both there, both Nixotica and Fegley, so it'll be exciting to see that coming in. And we have our picks coming in with the first pick coming in from Onyx in USA. I mean, well, it makes sense, right? I mean, they're all USA. Only fair to start off on home ground.
But USA was certainly a very good map for them, so I think it will be very hard for Fegley and Exotica to beat them. Then we go to Greece, Brazil, France, and then the last map will be China. So I'm also going to write that in chat that you guys know the pick face, how the maps are looking like. I think that is a good thing to have, but I mean, I'd probably give the edge. If it goes to China, I think it's everyone's game, but just seeing how Onyx played on their matches, they looked very good, Boney. It will be hard to beat them, but I'm also I think the main factor for me here is how good Fegley can find his way into the match, because I didn't really see him along in a lot of competitions. Did he play America's Masters, or was he also inactive in there?
I believe he did play America's Masters, though. Chad, feel free to correct me. I mean, if when in doubt, right, Chad is always there to make sure it's correct. But I believe Fegley did play, but I don't remember him placing too well. So yeah, it's a bit of a question, right? Whether or not that'll be enough. I think Cockney, I mean, he's been looking strong. Exotica during week 1 was doing all right, supported by Toto, and Key, I believe, as well. Was playing in week 1 as well, replacing Flimsy. So both Fegley and Flimsy, personally at least, I haven't seen them come out too much, and I think that'll give us, I think that's going to be the decider, whether or not both players are there, or maybe one of the two is maybe feeling a little bit weaker today. Either way, it does look like we are getting close to getting ready. Players are in warm-up right now, all situated up in the US of A, and we'll see if Onyx is able to take that first blood here.
I mean, just talking about Flimsy. Flimsy played the Elite Cups and got 4 times into the Elite Cup, where his best performance was 17th, 18th on Brazil, and then just a lot of notable results in there. So he looks ready, and I think Cockney and Flimsy is just a very good duo. Just for me, Fegley is the missing variable here, because I see that he was active, not as active as in 2021 and 2022. He played some events like Trackmania 4 Hours, the NCSA Duo Cup he has played as of very recently. He got 7th in there. And then Trackmania games he played a little bit as well, but not really too many promising results for him. But let's just see how it goes, because I really think that Onyx is going to dominate on this map here, because look at the PBs, 102.3, 102.5, and then we have a 0.9 from Nixotica, and Fegley has a 0.8. So just PB-wise, it is looking clear that Onyx is going to take it. But consistency at the end, of course, matters most.
Yeah, we've seen how troublesome the water can get, right? These Neo slides coming out, and players do find themselves going over the edge. Has been the decider. I mean, especially that ending as well, the slides we've seen come throughout. Absolute cinema at times. But yeah, as we are off, Onyx, as he predicted, on a great start as well, only having to deal with Exotica at the moment in their midst, but definitely have a clear lead, and a big crash there from Exotica. Onyx already starting off very strong in ace formation, and I mean, Fegley, he's gonna have to hope for a mistake there.
Yeah, and Fegley not with the best of starts here as well, already fell behind. But there it is.
Oh, what?
Tony, you summoned it. You, that is very...
It was me.
Oh my god, that is so unfortunate there for Onyx. It looked like a steamroll for them on this first round, but both of them fell apart. At least it's not an ace for Halcyon here, but it's a victory, and that's a great start. Flimsy and Cockney both failing at the same part. And that is definitely something to consider. I mean, Flimsy and Cockney, they looked so good here, especially when they played this map against other opponents. But now they're the ones behind. But again, they get a very good start here, Boney, as Flimsy didn't get a good transition into the bobsleigh. He's falling behind, has control into the jump, and makes it beautifully. So he's right back into the battle for second.
Yeah, maybe a little bit calculated, probably not. With that reduction of speed, getting the quarter pipe jump as low as possible. We've seen players go over, and especially in Div 2 for that matter, not as consistent. And I think when it comes to Onyx and Halcyon, they very much do feel like that upper part of Div 2 with the way they've been driving and times that are being put down. Once again, Exotica finds themselves crashing into that cinder block, and again, Onyx in position to make it happen. I'm not going to say a word now. It's not my fault if it happens again.
Yeah, we should maybe just watch it in silence and see if they're going to fail or not. And they make it! Let's go, but there's still one part. Hey, hand in hand, they go into the ending. Good times here as well. Bit more safe, I would say. But that's the ace, and well-deserved ace. Fagley, 0.3 behind, not the worst time. Exotica, due to that mistake, fading the dirt flick again. And finds himself into the barrier, 2 seconds behind. But Onyx takes control after a wonky first round. Let's go into the next one. Again, Fagley struggling with the start, struggling to find the right gear on this uphill sector, and he's already quite far behind. Flimsy and Cagney battling it out with Exotica. Let's see who's risking the quarter pipe a bit too much. Flimsy clipping, but gets away with it and doesn't even lose speed. So Cagney and Flimsy again very much in control starting round number 3.
Yeah, they feel very much in sync. And now through the dirt turn, a bit of a, felt a bit looser on the side of Cagney. Thought he was going to hit the wall there, but able to navigate his way through. Once again, hitting into the ice. Cagney with a slide touch right before. This time around, good flicks coming out from Fagley. Exotica looked like he was conserving a bit, right? I think he's a bit worried about hitting the wall, and went a little bit wider, ends up in last place due to that. And again, Onyx now with a bit more pressure. One player down, Cagney by the water's side. It's going to be Flimsy to cover. Make sure that first place comes in, does make it happen, but unfortunately, Cagney not able to hold on, and Fagley and Exotica closing it out. It's going to be a draw. Yeah. It feels like Onyx could get a lot more out of this, if not for that ending.
Yeah, I agree, but Halcyon with that still in the match. It's 5-3, only 2 points between them. Of course, a draw heavily advantageous for the team who is already leading. So Onyx only 5 points away of closing out this map here, but it feels like it could be this map here already. If Flimsy and Cagney just hold it together in the previous rounds. But now Flimsy with a mistake, so he needs to rely on Cagney. But this opens the room for Exotica and Fagley to come back and maybe get themselves a victory or even an ace. But it is Cagney with a great turn. Exotica struggling a little bit, and he was also really thinking about the dirt flick in the previous round. But let's take a look. Will he make it across now? Cagney needs to hold on to that first position. Very important round. Fagley with good speed and goes up into the lead, but not the best exit for him. Cagney still in the lead, and look at the gap here, 0.1 of a second, just due to a good dirt flick. Exotica and Fagley not too far behind. So one mistake from Cagney, and this will be an ace for Halcyon, and they will find themselves back in it. But Exotica with a clip, and this looks to be like another draw, because Fagley also slowed down. Not the fastest winning time here as well, just 0.7 away from the world record, and Cagney certainly has a good PP here as well. Still anyone's game, but Onyx, they could have definitely won this map by now, but it's 6-4, so Halcyon's still in there.
Yeah, exactly. And Exotica Fagley did try to get a little bit risky throughout that ending, but unable to get it down clean, and Cagney just setting up the defense, making sure that it could have gotten a whole lot worse. Everybody does make the quarter pipe jump this time around, but a bit of a slower exit there from Flimsy will mean that he's going to have to play a little bit of catch-up to his teammate with Exotica and Fagley trying to keep the line, and Exotica very much mimicking what Cagney does throughout that third, matching him through each and every one of these turns. But we'll see if he is as confident when it comes to this dirt flick, making her way around. And unfortunately, while Exotica makes it through, Fagley is this time the one falling by the wayside, but I don't think it's necessarily over. Again, this identity hasn't been the strongest for Onyx.
Oh, yeah.
Right there, yeah. This is exactly what I was worried about. That second turn has been absolutely brutal to him. But Flimsy, what a snipe at the end. Gets just his wheels on the ground just in time to overtake Exotica. Gets a little bit of a boost versus Exotica's airtime, and able to get the victory in. Does mean that Onyx is in a great position now. It's a bit of a slog, right? But slowly but surely, they are keeping this map in their favor.
Yeah, definitely. 8-5, but good ending there from Flimsy, I suppose. Cagney, or I always confuse names in that regard, but from the Onyx player who got first, and then it was a mistake, of course, happening. But now Fagley is behind, having to respawn, so that is very much unfortunate. And look at the start from Exotica as well, half a second behind. So Similar to round number 1, this is Onyx round to lose, and Exotica, well, goes into the wall again, hardly able to clear that speed check there. And look how far behind he is. He has no speed. He's limping here, trying to just somewhat stay alive, but 2 seconds is an almost impossible gap to clear. Just Cockney and Flimsy, they have to survive it. Yet again, looking good. First slide coming in nicely. Do they know that they can save? What is Cockney doing? Cockney, yeah, but it's still enough for the ace.
He's fine.
It's still enough. Yeah, he's fine. But again, Onyx should not do this on the next maps because other than that, Halcyon will just capitalize on this. And as I alluded to already beforehand, Onyx has beaten a lot stronger teams than Halcyon, just pace-wise on this particular map. They still win it, but they need to just step up the game on the next map, which will be Greece.
Yeah, heading into Greece as we catch a couple of those, highlights from what we saw. That Exotica crashing twice, but I mean, the second turn has been brutal. We see it happening there again. It's somehow the line not really going the way. I'm not sure if it's the setup that Cockney is employing right there. Flimsy has been able to survive that a couple more times. You see this as well, 66% getting those first places in, making sure that Onyx does get that lead, but it really did come down to that ending for Onyx. To win it was, I think, a given with the way the map was unfolding. It just, could have been done a whole lot sooner. And now heading on to Halcyon's pick, it feels precarious. I mean, especially this identity. Accuracy is everything.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the staircase in the end, it's a marathon of a map. It's the longest map in the map pool. We've seen a lot of overtakes happening here. Then we also have the leap of faith, the release turn in this regard. No brakes attached, but the angle is just too thin to drift, and that's this particular turn. But a very nice map. As Geek also said, it felt like a rejected 6-lapper because the start and finish are very close to each other. But it's a nice map. I'm really a fan of this one. I think the map pack in general, also in comparison to the second map pack, maybe you guys have seen that one already. This one feels more like refined to me. I really like this one a bit more, but I think this all really comes down like when we see the maps being played in a competitive playground. We have seen those maps multiple weeks now, and I cannot wait to see the other maps happening as well. But Cockney with a first mistake, having to double respawn, and he will be out of the equation. So again, Halcyon with a huge opportunity to get some points, but Fegley struggling to hold the gear over the ice. So Flimsy with a commanding lead in round number 1 on Greece.
Yeah, should be fine, you could say, but there is still a lot that can happen, that can occur. Fegley and Exotica setting up that chase at the moment, first staircase going through, and Fegley not as clean as an Exotica, as we find our Americans out on their NASCAR track at the moment. Just got to steer left all the way through. Okay, we're done with NASCAR at this point. Time to actually use those brakes. But the gap is massive to Flimsy, but the respawn at the identity is also very long. There's no checkpoint in between or whatnot. I think in that regard, USA is probably one of the more forgiving ones with the amount of checkpoints that we find in the identity as we make our way through. We've seen Exotica going for the attack, going for the overtake, gets a clip, unfortunately, and able to get past Flimsy. So Flimsy, I mean, that was an Exotica hot on his heels, and it just came down to that second to last drop down, just unable to get the landing clean, and a draw is a draw.
Yeah, it could have been one more point here for Fegley and Exotica. And Exotica with a great ending there, up until it wasn't, up until he clipped. Didn't have to respawn, so that was very fortunate, because if you clip on this staircase sector, you most likely always just having to respawn. And as you already said, the respawn is very, very long on the staircase sector. We have seen it at DreamHack Birmingham, players having to respawn, not able to finish, because it's sometimes 10 plus seconds that you just lose there. But let's go into the rounds. Flimsy and Cockney with a great start. And Exotica falling behind. Fegley holding the gear over the ice and is still very much in the round here. But look at the speed from Flimsy and Cockney swarming out into first position. Fegley needs to hold on to it and needs to push a bit more. Maybe also needs to allow a mistake if he wants to make it another draw. But it looks like that Onyx is very much in control. And that is also a round that they really need of after not really gaining momentum on USA, which was seemingly a very strong map for them. But let's go into the ending and let's see if they can make the ace across. Because Fegley having an okay transition, gets the nosedive, having a lot of speed. Flimsy clipping the inside on the hole. so will promote Fegley up into second place. Good line landing there as well, but then loses control, and that's what I mean. Fegley having to respawn, and that is a free ace for Onyx here, even though it could have been much more, at least a point for them, but it is the ace eventually.
Yeah, a brutal one for Halcyon, taking that blow in that manner. Again, the identity, a bit of risk coming in, and this time around, we see how long that respawn takes. Fegley with the plus 9.8. Just says a lot about the impact that has. And not just that, this is Halcyon's first map pick. While, to a certain extent, picking into maps, there can be some strategy and tactics behind it, but you're going into it with the expectation that you will be able to perform better, you're able to, use the pace that you have on that pick to get these points in. And this is quite a big blow for them, and giving Onyx some space to, create a lead of sorts will put Halcyon on the back foot, and maybe mess a little bit with the confidence, a bit with the spirit that is in there. But this round is definitely a lot more Halcyon favored. Flimsy has been falling behind throughout the staircase, drop down and into the NASCAR. It does mean Fegley and Exotica are able to hold on to the lead, with Cackney just lurking behind, feeling like this is again going to be a situation where the identity is going to be the decider, with these outside third lines being thrown out. It's going to be a 1v1 for first and third place, it seems to be, as we get through. First drop down, second drop. We see a little bit more risk coming out from Onyx, trying to overtake Exotica, with Exotica having the speed to stay ahead. Bit of an awkward landing, though. Stays in, allowing Flimsy to overtake, and Cockney going quite wide, with Fegley coming in third. There was so much happening at the end. Swift swap all around, and at the end of it all we got was a draw.
Yeah, but this was the best round we have seen in this match so far. So maybe both teams are not locked in, but it really seems like Exotica and Fegley just having, like, they go a bit further outside here to just have more exit speed, but it feels like they're just not that committed to the lines and not that consistent on most of those parts. But that was definitely a great showing, but it was a draw eventually, heavily advantageous to Onyx. We're now up to 5 points, whereas Halcyon is only at 2 so far. So it was draw, ace, and then another draw, and now we have a respawn from Fegley, so this could be another ace for Onyx. And as you rightfully said, Halcyon, they should win this map to have a shot of winning this whole match here. Else it will be like very hard to come back, but also really seems like Cackney and Flimsy, they find themselves in the groove. They have a second ahead of Exotica in this round, and they look very much in control. We have seen sub 114 times as well in the previous round, so no times to sleep on. Those times are very solid. But it really looks like that Flimsy and Cackney are going to win this round here with ease if they don't fail the ending. But Flimsy clipping there, still able to clear that gap here. But also now Exotica with a mistake, cannot get this 1 point out of it. So that means another ace and a 113.4. That is a very good time from Cackney.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, Cockney was looking phenomenal throughout that entire round. I don't think he even realized what was happening behind him. He was just in the zone, and a 0.4, low 0.4 for that matter as well. Great time being put down, and not just that, being rewarded with the ace, 8-2. And this is looking at, it feels like this is the way USA should have looked, but now it's happening on Greece, and yeah, this is one of those.
They still won the map, though.
They still won the map, yeah. It's going to be a bit of a tricky one. I mean, after this, we'll be having Brazil come in, which we saw earlier on Neon drive a 0.78 on, just a couple of hundredths away from that world record set by Scrappy. So I'm very curious to see what the pace is going to be from our players here. But Brazil in general, right, also one of those precarious ones. And I feel like that is already something that Halcyon's going to have to be thinking about, as much as you may not would have liked it, because a gap of 6 points is massive, and now the gap between Fegley and Exotica, for that matter, is massive as well. Last thing you want to see, last thing you want to have, especially when all you're looking for right now is aces, right? An ace after an ace. Onyx has done a phenomenal job of just cashing those in, and now putting the pressure, putting the the nails on Fegley. It's going to be a question of, can he stay in? So far in these situations, the identity hasn't been too good. We see one of the Onyx players fall off. That is going to be Cackney. Fegley with a bit of a crash, but that's okay with Cackney's crash. He does survive, but ends up in 4th place. It's going to be a draw, which is a-okay for Onyx, right? The gap is still 6 points. Halcyon still needs to bring it.
Yeah, back to back they need to bring it. They need to find their first ace here in this particular match, and that not only once, but twice. I think they can do it. They have the potential here. It's just all about the consistency that is really lacking for Nixotica and Fagley. Maybe it's the lack of practice. I think both of them did not play the Elite Cups themselves, so this is also good practice. They've probably, they put extensive practice into those maps, as you can see. But maybe Nixotica has played it, but I don't think that Fagley has partaken in either of those Elite Cups. Maybe has played them and didn't make it into the top 64. That could be the case, but now they're just backs against the wall here. They need to find the ace to extend it into another round and then do it again. But since Fagley's already 1 second behind, this will be a tough mountain to climb. They need both Flimsy and Cockney to fail it here. And I think this is almost certainly not going to happen. I mean, we all know everything can happen in Trackmania, but since Nixotica made another mistake here on the outside dirt line, it is looking very, very good here for Flimsy and Cockney to win it on the first map pick from Halcyon and go into a lead of 2 points. But Flimsy with a mistake, so Cockney needs to stay ahead of Nixotica and Fagley here. But that's all she wrote. That is more than enough. Even a victory in favor for Halcyon will reward Onyx with 1 point, which brings them up to 10 points and winning them the map. 10-5, okay scoreline. But again, Boney, it feels like Cockney and Flimsy do not really live up to the expectations that they might have on themselves.
Yeah, it feels like there's more to be on both sides, honestly. It may be due to the maps coming up, but even then, it does feel like a bit of an off day in that regard, and very much so on the side of Nixotica and Fagley, just not able to replicate what they should be able to do on a map like Greece. Gonna have to try to do it here on Brazil and having to look for the reverse sweep for that matter as well, as Onyx is currently on match point, which for Onyx would be phenomenal, right? If it does come down to any tiebreakers of the sort, this is great for their overall scoreline. Definitely not something that Halcyon wants to be thinking about, because it may be the decider, right? It may be decisive at the end of it all. It's somewhat of a thing to be looking forward to. But here we are, having to win 3 in a row for Halcyon. I'm hard pressed to say that there is room for that. It would have to take either a mind shift of sorts or some type of way to refine that consistency that they still desperately need for them to be able to take on Onyx, because even with the mistakes on the side of Onyx, there's still enough for them to win rounds.
Yeah, definitely, but they need to do it now, and they need to win 3 maps in a row for Halcyon here. And I think Onyx, I mean, just take a look into the PBs, both sub 104, and then we have Nixotica and Fagley, 104.3, 104.2, and already from the get-go, Fagley, again, struggling to find a consistent start. Important to hold the gear. Flimsy fails it as well, doesn't find the right entry into that particular turn, so this is with Nixotica and Cockney. Nixotica with an exceptional start, though, finding himself quite far ahead, more speed into the beach sector as well, but Cockney traveling less distance there, so he applies a little bit of pressure to him. Still 0.15 between them, but that is a great start for Halcyon because Fagley stays out of Flimsy, who's completely out of the equation. But this all comes down to the first place battle here. If Nixotica can hold on to it, it's looking like a good round, and good speed from Nixotica here as well. Now important to get that nose side across. Cockney setting up a bit wider. Doesn't get a good apex for that, but look at that nose side there. Very nicely done from Cockney, going up into the lead. And now only the ending is left to be cleared for Cockney, and then it will be at least a draw here for Onyx after a sluggish start from them. And Cockney will make it with a great ending. Look how much time he gained towards Nixotica and Fagley there.
Yeah, just that third sector, that third turn was pivotal to that success of Cockney there. He's been doing a phenomenal job throughout the match in that regard, right? When it does come down to it, you can tell that he is able to deal with the pressure and make sure that he stays in a favorable position for his team to cover for any errors that may have occurred throughout the round. And again, a strong start here coming out from Cockney, and this time around having that support from Flimsy, putting themselves in a current ace formation. I mean, we're only about 20 seconds in thus far. The water sectors have been looking phenomenal from them. Fagley and Nixotica trailing behind a little bit. Nixotica looking for any on our way to get back into the fold, but it's going to be hard to catch up throughout these turns. I think if it does come down to him trying to catch up, he's going to have to try on the dirt. But first, the long plastic wall, all players following similar lines. Cackney going a little bit wider, allowing Flimsy to just get a little bit ahead. But hey, you know what? They're just, duos. They're just teammates hanging out, having a great time, going water sliding across the Brazilian waterways. As Fegley does come into view from time and time again, but finds themselves crashing out, and it's going to be Flimsy and Cackney once again bringing home that ace and driving the PB pace that we've seen for on the board for Exotica and Fegley right there. I mean, what is that? Yeah, 3,000s away from Flimsy versus Fegley's PB. I think that's scary if you're a Halcyon player.
Yeah, well, what does that do to you? If you see players just driving almost your PB, or like just even beating your PB. Exotica has a 0.37, probably a faster time offline or just on the leaderboard. But Cackney and Flimsy very much in control, but now we see a very weird start from Flimsy going so far outside, losing the gear, and there you can see how much that really loses you. Not only do you get like a little amount of speed, but like the whole turn just feels so weird to drive because you still have like watery wheels on plastic. They do not go away, and you just lose so much time by eating the gear, by just having so much distance to drive, and well, you with that are 2 seconds behind. But half a second it is between Cackney and the second player in the race, Exotica here. So Cackney on a great time by the looks of it. Gets a great nose side there as well, even extends his lead to almost 0.7 of a second into that part. So Cackney on a great time. I think this could be a 103, maybe a 104 low, something like that. Oh, almost hitting the rock there. Let's take a look onto the stopwatch. He saved it a bit in the end, but it's still a 104.2. So great time. It is a draw, 5-2. Onyx only need of 5 more points or 2 more rounds if they continue playing like this.
Yeah, and Cackney's pace there, I was looking at the splits along the way as well. It was very much looking like he was on pace for, that sub 104. But even then, driving a 0.2, especially with the gap that was created already, again, putting pressure on Halcyon, showing like, hey, those PBs, that's great and all. Here I am just driving them in rounds, deal with it. Yeah, it's just tough. And again, Halcyon, they have not found themselves in a position where they can really create control. They cannot really create pressure on Onyx. Again, 3 points behind, and in a situation where they need to be able to catch up to someone who, honestly, right now is just quicker. Cackney once again finds themselves up ahead. Yeah, Flimsy maybe behind a little bit, but this time around, not too far. Can't take advantage of any and all mistakes coming out from Fegley or Exotica, and those points make a huge difference. Just one overtake would put Onyx in match point for that matter, and Flimsy wants to get in between. Bit of an awkward entry into the last checkpoint, though, will mean that Fegley and Exotica are going to be safe, but Cackney crosses the line this time around with a 0.39. So a bit slower, but keeping the status quo, keeping the gap at 3 points, and Onyx just keeps control.
Yeah, they definitely keep control, always gatekeeping those first position away from their opponents, right? With good times. Exotica and Fegley, they cannot match that pace here in this particular match. They need to play out of their mind. They need to find just the rounds of their lives, or just the PB run in this regard. And also here in this round, Cackney and Flimsy with the best of starts. Fegley and Exotica finding themselves already a bit further behind, and Flimsy and Cackney, they want to close it out here within 2 rounds. But again, it felt like the match could have already ended by just seeing how fast Cackney and Flimsy really are on those particular maps. Cackney on a great time here again. Flimsy holding on to that second position. Exotica and Fegley are howling behind, but it looks like Flimsy always has just a better nose slide here, even though Fegley had it very nicely here in this turn. And now we have a nose slide from Flimsy, so Fegley and Exotica up to second and third position, and Cackney with a mistake, and that is exactly what Halcyon was in need of. They are finally able to capitalize from 2 individual mistakes, and look at the winning times. They are not strong. 105 is the winning time here.
Yeah, and one of those rounds where it definitely came down to mistakes on the side of Onyx, right? More of a round lost by Onyx than a round won by Halcyon, but that doesn't really matter when it comes to the points, right? It's still 6-6, and if there's anything Halcyon needed, it's something like this, just to, make up the gap a little bit. Know that it's just 4 points, right? You got to keep that mentality that doesn't mean that just 4 points is as easy as that, but you gotta, break it down and make sure that you have these goals that may be attainable. Heading into the first water sector, though, Exotica and Fegley find themselves on the back foot once again, with Flimsy and Cackney taking control of the round, setting the pace and making sure that if Halcyon wants to win this, they're gonna have to try and beat that as Flimsy starts to extend further and further, and Cackney as well with a better exit out of the third. Does mean that Fegley is gonna have to hope for another error on the side of Onyx. Yes, they got the ace in the previous round, but one ace is not going to do it. They're going to need a couple more, and with Exotica out of the picture, it's going to come out of Fegley's exit out of the ending, and Flimsy over one of the rocks.
Oh my god.
With a horrible respawn, and Exotica actually makes it a draw. What do you mean? What do you mean?
What is happening? Like Cackney and Flimsy, they need to deny those kind of mistakes. This is really, really unnecessary. I mean, it's track point now for Halcyon, and they already got an ace here, but Flimsy and Cackney, look at the start already. It's looking so much controlled up until this part. Flimsy with a mistake there, and now Cackney needs to hold on to this round, else Fegley and Exotica are going to win this particular map, and that is definitely something, Boney, that I didn't expect here at all, to see Onyx really throwing away this particular map win. And I mean, you were already talking about it, the difference, the tiebreaker, winning a match 3-0, it's huge for your team, right? But it's not over just yet. Cackney is almost 1 second ahead of Fegley and Exotica. He just has to survive the ending. Surely he's gonna not fail it this time.
These are not words you should just be saying like that. So, barring any caster cursing aside, conventional wisdom should say this is a draw. We'll see if Cackney makes it around. And
so close to the rock.
He's in.
Was so close to the rock, though.
Yeah. Well, Flimsy decided to go over again, but it doesn't really matter too much in the grand scheme of things. It's going to be a draw, but it's getting awfully scary in that regard for Onyx. It's not the worst thing in the world to go to a map 4, but at the same time, if you can't close it out, right, you just want to do it. Flimsy, I think, is gonna have to survive the wet plastic. I mean, this has been an issue for him throughout the map. I want to say half of the rounds that he has driven thus far have been, his Achilles heel on that sector in particular. This time, though, he is in the mix. He is joining his teammate, and with Exotica now behind by 0.8 of a second, it's going to be a matter of getting at least first and third. But hey, you know what? An ace is an ace. Obviously, wouldn't really hate on that. Fegley, though, is able to match the pace, able to stay up, and because of the gap no longer being there, right, being equaled out, this is make or break at the moment for Fegley. This may determine whether or not their season will come to a conclusion in a favorable spot, or if this is just what it is. He tries to go in for the attack, gets the overtake, goes in forward, and makes it a draw. Are we actually going to go into overtime? We're very, very close to it.
Yeah, we are. Fegley with an exceptional ending there. Really shining through here under pressure. It's match point versus track point. Whoever wins around as the first team is going to win this map or win this match when it is Onyx. Now we see a poor start from, I think it was Exotica falling a bit behind, but yeah, you rightfully said it there. Flimsy fading the start a lot of times here, but now he gets it across again. And also Fegley with a great start, playing out of his mind in the last couple of rounds, but he's a bit further behind in this round here, as he is already not getting in the best apex in this turn. Flimsy and Cackney yet again with a very, very comfortable lead of 0.3 of a second. Fegley and Exotica, they need another miracle here to be happening, but it already happened in a couple of rounds beforehand where we have seen individual mistakes in those rounds. But now it is looking like that Flimsy and Cackney, it's in their control. They can close it out here, else it will be almost unnecessarily close in that regard if they lose out on this map. They're on first and second, only one drift to go, and Flimsy and Cackney, they will be making it, and they close it out, even though it was it wasn't even close when it comes to pace, but consistency and individual mistakes. Halcyon could have definitely capitalized more on that. And, well, it is Onyx winning this match. I would say deserved, but they have to do their homework for the next match.
Yeah. This feels like so much potential just left by the wayside. There were great rounds that they drove individually, but there were also rounds where, it felt like there was just slowing things down in ways that they didn't necessarily have to, right? It makes sense, right? It's not like you're going to drive every round flawlessly, but it was a bit too frequent, I'd say, that, despite getting the win, despite getting a 3-0, which is great in and of itself, there's definitely more to be gained. I mean, on the side of Halcyon, I think it was more a side of pace, right? And more a thing of practice, which are things, that are to be worked on. And I think the end result does speak for that. But yeah, I think when it comes to Onyx and looking forward to things like playoffs and such, because it does feel like they are very much making their way towards that. Definitely some things to work on.
Yeah, well put there. Onyx, of course, now having 4 wins, 1 loss so far, so it's certainly not looking too bad for them. And maybe it's really the map pack for Halcyon. Maybe they're gonna bounce back into it. Maybe they're already practicing the maps that are happening for like just the next split or just the next rounds. But they still have plenty of matches to be played. Having 2 points so far, 2 wins so far, it's not too bad. They could still drop down because we still have plenty of matches to be played in the next couple of weeks. So this and the next week. But yeah, this was the first match for us, or for me at least. I think you were already casting a match beforehand.
Are we going?
Yeah, we're going, and there's plenty still to come. There will be Vabene versus Ragnarok coming up in just 20 minutes, and then there will be another 3 matches afterwards being casted by mainly Padster. Boney's gonna do 1 more match after that as well, and then Geek will be joining into the cast for the last 2 matches. So guys, don't go anywhere. We will be back in roughly 15 to 20 minutes with our next match, which will be Vabene versus Ragnarok.